Yeah, buddy. Okay.
Last summer, I was with those kids that I'm coaching in the summertime there, and it was actually in the springtime. But we were riding out to the Mine Scar at the Nordic Center, and you and Dylan were coming back with your climbing helmets and alpine packs and ropes and stuff. And the kids didn't get it. They were just like, "What are those guys doing? What? Those guys are goofy. They're riding climbing helmets." You know, like, and then I was like, I was watching your stories that day, that morning and that day. And once we got out to the Mine Scar, I was like, you remember those guys that you saw? You're making fun of their helmets? They were up there, and they got real pretty quick. But tell me about what you were doing this summer on Rundle.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess over the last couple of summers, I've been pretty motivated to climb more around home, like climb some of the local formations. And we've got some pretty big walls just above the Bow Valley that, see very little traffic, and some of them still haven't been climbed. So it's just been this kind of goal of mine to explore more close to home. Part of it was due to COVID being, less able to travel. That was a kick in the direction of more local adventures. But also I've just had this kind of drive over the last few years to try to spend more time in the home valley and explore more around here. There's still so many cool unclimbed faces for myself, and peaks I haven't been on that you can see from home. And I just think it's kind of a shame to not capitalize on this cool place we live in. All the great adventures and experiences you can have close to home, right? We live in this super cool spot. So yeah,
Like literally at home,
yeah, totally.
like within that globe that you can see standing from downtown,
Yeah,
which is so
exactly, man.
cool.
Yeah, the peaks around here are super inspiring, and I just think it's that, like, yeah, I mean, there's just so much. It's so cool to be able to do these things in town, these cool adventures really close to home that you don't have to drive for. You can just kind of like, you could basically bike to and from your door. And to me, that's like the most inspiring form of adventure. We're so lucky, we're so privileged to live in this like super cool spot. And it's like, part of me is like, man, why do I always feel like I need to go somewhere else? Like we can just like really capitalize on this, what we have here at home.
Yeah, rad. No, you literally were on your bikes to access Rundle, and you did end up doing a pretty cool climb with your friend Alec this summer. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the climb I did with Alec this summer we called it the Perceived Ridge. It took us 2 days to climb up the kind of direct ridge line on the 8th buttress to the main peak of Rundle. It went at about 510 plus. We called it maybe 10D or something. And yeah, I mean, it was just this really cool long adventure up this long ridge line, about 15 pitches of climbing, all in all, with a whole bunch of scrambling and fourth class and stuff in between. Just like this really prominent, beautiful ridge line above town that we've been looking at for a while. And it just seemed like a pretty proud line in the Bow Valley that hadn't been climbed. And so we were just psyched to give it a go. I mean, the name Proceed comes from, there was a meteor shower that night, the Proceed meteor shower. So, when we were out bivvying on this kind of exposed ridge overnight, just below the upper buttress there, we got to kind of sleep out under the stars and watch this cool meteor shower. So anyways, like a really cool adventure close to home that I've been eyeing up for a while, and all came together pretty well with some pretty sweet climbing. And so it's just kind of, it's lit the fire for more local adventures, and it's just like the more I do out here, the more I see the possibilities and the cool adventures I want to have around the Bow Valley.
Yeah, wicked. So then, great segue into this line you guys skied the other day on Cascade, which you can see from the highway. Why don't you just describe where it is if you were driving into Banff, where you'd see it?
Yeah, so the line, it's the east face of Cascade. So as you're driving to Banff from Canmore, it's kind of like the big, it's up the big face that's staring at you, coming down the highway. It kind of angles a little bit towards Lake Minnewanka. If you look up, there's this kind of like steep line, broken up by a bunch of cliff bands, just down and right from the summit of Cascade. And it skis straight down, and we skied into a popular ice climb called the Erse Hole. And so we were able to rappel into the Erse Hole, and it's this cool slot canyon at the bottom that early season is a whole bunch of rambling ice steps, but this time of year it's full of avalanche debris. And so we were able to just kind of ski and exit through this like really aesthetic, cool little slot canyon at the bottom. Which
didn't really make the news because it was, the focus was really on your descent above, or
the upper face was definitely the kind of meat of it. That was the exciting part for sure. And the Erse Hole was just a cool little exit bonus thing.
Yeah, totally. Cherry on top, because you mentioned it actually skied not so bad.
Yeah, not so. I mean, it wasn't powder in there, but it was just like this. It was like a firm, smooth kind of faceted,
right?
Snow in there. That was just like, yeah, and it was just the position, right? You're just in this neat little tight couloir. And there's also, there's all of these actual glacial ice formations in there, from avalanche debris that kind of flows into this slot canyon every summer, or every spring or winter, and it just compacts, and then the snow kind of, it's such a deep canyon, it doesn't melt out, and you just get this accumulation of snow in there. So as you're skiing through there, you're actually like skiing around these like big, almost like glacial ice formations, which early season you can actually climb through. So yeah, anyways, just like a really rad, beautiful place to be. And about it is like, once you pop out at the bottom, you're like, you're like 100 meters from the road, and then like a 10-minute drive back home or 15-minute drive back home.
Yeah,
it's
just like
a fun, cool piece of terrain is like, so like right in the valley bottom, like right close to home. It felt like pretty cool to be popping out of that.
Yeah, it's so true. A lot of this stuff we go to do is so far from home, but boom, right there. Yeah. So you guys would have got up fairly early, and you would have came up the south side.
Yeah, we climbed what's called the postcard line, or the south face of Cascade. That's actually been skied a number of times, or it gets skied pretty regularly. It's a cool steep ski descent looking down at Banff, but it's also a pretty direct ascent route to the summit. Yeah, I mean, it's threatened by some cornices and stuff, and so we just were like, wanted to get up nice and early and kind of get through it as fast as possible. And it was nice. It was actually pretty much avalanche debris the whole way. So we just had our crampons on, and it was like really fast, easy travel. Up. So it's about a 1,500 meter climb to the summit from where we parked, and then, yeah.
And then once you were kind of up, it wasn't too tough to navigate over to the entrance.
It was scrambly. Yeah, it was. There was sections where you had your skis on your back, and you're kind of like, you were climbing with your crampons and stuff over some exposed rock and stuff that, you just had to take your time and move slow. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't super straightforward, but it also wasn't like incredibly difficult. But It took time. I think it's like 4 hours or a little more than 4 hours to reach the summit from the car, and then it took us maybe an hour and a half more to kind of get from the summit down over to where we could drop into the line.
Right. Okay, and then you're dropping into this line, and you guys are pros. You guys don't need to ski it. You just were having a look, and it was looking good. So tell me about that. Walk me through the steps you took skiing this thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'd been looking at it for a few weeks, thinking that it looked fat and good to go. And, you know, I went out there a week prior and took some good photos with my, with like a telescopic lens. So we had some pretty good beta on, you know, where we might need to rappel, where the ski line would go, all that stuff. Yeah, and you know, the day we're heading up there to try it, the winds were supposed to pick up in the afternoon. So we were just like, you know, we were pretty real with ourselves, leaving the car in the morning being like, yeah, you know, like, let's not put any pressure on ourselves to ski this thing. Like, it's a pretty serious face. And if it feels right, great. But if it doesn't feel right, like, let's just come back another day. And today can just be a cool recon day. Yeah, I mean, we learned a lot. Like, we also learned that, like, you could, coming up the summer trail, you get up into this basin and behind, and you can actually climb kind of like a northwest facing bowl to get to the ridge, which is quite a bit less objective hazard. So, you know, we were just like psyched on getting up there and getting some beta. And when we got to the top, we figured, we were like, well, you know what? It's still cold. Like, it was -20 leaving the parking lot, and the temps, you know, they warmed up throughout the day, but it was still pretty chilly up there. And there's a bit of a cloud cover, so we weren't really worried about the, you know, things getting too hot on the east face at all. There's a fair bit of wind, which we were concerned about, but once we were up there, we were like, man, there's no wind transport. There's no blowing snow really, right? Like, the snow had been so wind affected and so faceted and stuff that it's like there was no wind slabs developing. And we were also concerned about loose, dry avalanches being knocked off the cliff faces, and because there's even really small avalanches on that face would, if they hit you, you'd be toast, right? So, but we just figured there just wasn't snow moving around, even though the winds were howling a little bit. So we decided to give it a shot. And yeah, I mean, dropping into the face it was pretty committing. Like, pretty much the whole upper face is a no fall zone. There's just cliff after cliff after cliff, right? So, you know, you skiing into it, we were hoping for decent snow, and unfortunately the snow was kind of quite variable, like with some breakable crusts here and there. And so yeah, I mean, it was a bit intense, the first kind of 100 meters of skiing or whatever, getting down to our first rappel. And yeah, I mean, once we got to the first rappel, we found a nice flow of blue water ice, and we were able to put in a V-thread there. And so it kind of just made the decision for us. We're like, okay, well, you know, like, things are going well enough so far. We found a anchor off the bat here that's pretty good. We're probably going to find more ice on this face. So we're not going to be digging too hard to find too many gear anchors in the rock. Yeah, so at that point, once we did the first rappel, we were kind of committed to the face and going for it. Yeah, so the ski line itself consisted of about 4 rappels on the upper face, and then another like 4 or 5 rappels to get through the earth hole. And yeah, I mean, I think what we all kind of found was, like, when we were looking at the photos from the highway, we were actually hoping that we could get by without any rappels. Like, it was looking like, oh yeah, looks like there's a vein of snow going through that cliff band, and you know, maybe that would go. And we're like, you know, with any luck, we might be able to do it with, you know, 0 rappels. And everything on the face was significantly gnarlier than it looked in the photos. Like, we were like, every time we got to one of those sections we thought we could maybe ski through, it was like, oh, no way. And I think it was partially because the snow was really bad, right? But so yeah, we ended up having to do 4 rappels to get through the face, and a couple V threads, one kind of slung tree a little lower down, a couple of piton anchors that we hammered in. Yeah, so it ended up being pretty time consuming. It kind of felt like we were, you know, it really felt like an alpine, bailing off a big alpine face, right? Like, that was kind of the skill set required for the ski line, was an alpine climbing skill set. Because it was like, you know, like, the skiing didn't take a crazy amount of time, but what did take a lot of time was like finding, you know, like, we'd get on top of this cliff and we'd like kind of ski around and try to find some sort of weakness in the rock, and like get the shovels out and move, like pull some snow away from the rock so we could find placements for pitons and hammering them in, and then rappelling, and then stuffing the ropes back in the bags. And, you know, like, that sort of stuff was what kind of made the whole route difficult and time consuming, I guess. Yeah.
Very good description, Kev. Yeah, I mean, obviously your alpine climbing experience helps with a ski descent like that. Awesome. Really, you did. You covered everything. I guess like going forward for the year here, with your guiding work and stuff, do you have plans? Are you working for anyone, or what's your plan for the spring, coming into the spring?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like right now I'm just skiing. I've got a pretty quiet February. I got a lot of time off, so it's been nice actually. I've had a lot of time to ski for myself, and I've been getting out almost every day, just going and skiing with friends and enjoying my life, and yeah, just trying to get out and adventure and have a good time. And then, yeah, I mean, the rest of the winter, I'll be guiding a little bit into the spring, teaching more AST courses, taking people out skiing. Yeah, and then early in the summer, I'm actually heading out to Bella Coola to do some construction for a few months with a buddy out there.
Nice.
So so it'll be good. I'm psyched, kind of, just trying to balance the work and play a little bit, and yeah, just get out with friends, and especially this year with COVID and stuff, right? I just like, it's kind of the one opportunity to really connect with people. You get to go outside and share these experiences together, and it really kind of, we're not socializing too much right now, but this is what we can do, right? So feeling pretty fortunate.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone wants to get in touch with you to go guide, we'll definitely put your information.
Cool. Yeah. Right on. Oh, that'd be cool.
I know personally, I've gone out with you and I felt safe and had a good time. So, I mean, you can't ask for much more. I know a lot of people will agree with that.
Cool. Appreciate it, man.
Austin winners would be one of them. All the winners.
Being with Austin yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had a big crew. There was like 9 of us, all a bunch of homies, just going shredding out in around Kootenay National Park, and that was just so fun. It was just like everybody mobbing together, and like all the people we grew up with, right? And just going out and having a good day out, shooting the shit, going and skiing.
Nice.
Felt pretty good.
You're just ski touring.
Just ski touring. Yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah, it's what it's all about, man. It's great. It's been a fun winter to kind of just try to make time for getting out with friends and enjoying skiing, and these, the fact that we've had a great snowpack and some opportunities to ski big lines like the one on Cascade has just been a cherry on top. It's been pretty cool to try to do some of these adventures, but yeah, I mean, the bottom line has just been great to be out skiing a lot and hanging out. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much.
Good talking to you.
Yeah, good talking to you too. Say hi to the folks back home.
Will do, man.
I'll catch you later.
Okay, see you later.